Hi, it's me, Tracy, your literary and tea time companion, and today is the day. You have asked, and I will answer. I hope that you will grab your cozy cup, your favorite beverage, maybe one that has some bubbles and sparkles in, and we'll settle in for our celebratory Q&A. This part of the Q&A is questions related to the bookish life, my life with books and reading. And there were quite a lot of questions for this particular category. So I will just get started with those. Some really wonderful questions. Number one, if you had to choose only one genre of literature, which one would you choose? Poetry, I think. Poetry would sustain me for a long time if I was able to have access to books of poetry. I have some on the shelf behind me. Yes, poetry. Literary fiction or classics would come in as a very close second, but I think I would still be coming back to poetry for that one. Number two, what are your other favorite poets besides Mary Oliver? There she is back here. Oh, so many. I love poetry. If you've been here even just a tiny while, you'll know that. So many. Emily Dickinson, Jane Hirschfield, Jane Kenyon, Sylvia Plath, the Russian Anna Akhmatova, Maya Angelou, David White, Robert Frost, Donald Hall, Kenneth Stephen, Rumi, Pablo Neruda, Thomas Merton, Thich Nhat Hanh, Rainer Maria Rilke. I could make you a really long list of favorites. There are just so many wonderful poets out there, and there are many Norwegian poets that I love as well. Yes, just so much good poetry. Number three, do you like vintage mysteries like Agatha Christie or maybe modern ones set in that time period? I do. The mystery is not a genre that I read a lot in general. It's not the one I reach most for in terms of reading. You've maybe noticed. That said, I have read some Agatha Christie in the past, and I have enjoyed them. When I was a teenager, I really loved Dorothy L. Sayers' the Lord Peter Wimsey series. I read all of those books and greatly enjoyed those. About 10 years ago, a friend of mine recommended the Maisie Dobbs mystery series by Jacqueline Winspear that has a World War II setting. I really loved those books as well. I read the whole series of that. I think the Maisie Dobbs series is about 18 books. So I did read those. I did read some mysteries. Thinking about these good books, I probably should dip a little bit more into the vintage mystery, more cozy mystery genre. Number four, where do you like to read? A favorite or special place? I'm looking at the sofa. The sofa is probably the preferred spot. Maximum comfort. The sofa, give me a cozy blanket and a cushion, a cup of tea, my mix of books. But that's perfect. What's missing from that picture is a cat. We may be adopting a new fur friend later in the autumn, so maybe that will be added to our cozy picture here again. But yes, the sofa. The next question is also related to reading and place. Number 5, I wonder where your favorite place to read is away from home, a tea shop, a park, etc. If I'm not at home on my cozy sofa, reading in the park, I do enjoy that a lot. My latest Read With Me video featured a segment of reading in a local park. That's really great when the weather is nice. A cafe is good too, although that would a lot would depend on the noise, maybe even the music. Sometimes it can be a little bit chaotic in a cafe for reading, unless you have some earbuds or noise canceling headphones. But if you're with maybe with another person enjoying some reading time and some good drinks, it's hard to tune out all the time. So I would say a place that has the least amount of noise, or least amount of sort of ambient sound in the background. So a park is ideal for me. I enjoy quiet for reading. Number 6, are there books that hold a special place in your heart because of the environment you read them in? An example, some reading during a power outage read by candlelight, or evening of a big snowstorm with the sound of wind howling outside. This one is hard to answer completely, I think, because we have weather all the time outside during the long winter here. We don't have power outages generally. We have been very lucky. It happens occasionally, but they're not that long that we have had to... Thankfully, they've not really happened during like the winter months where we would need candles, a lot of candles. I'm having a hard time answering this one, actually. I'm not having something specific calling to mind, connecting with kind of an environment-related event. I'm sorry if I'm not able to answer this very clearly. A specific title or specific book is not coming to mind with a specific environment event. I read a lot during the winter when the snow is falling outside. That is one of the loveliest things, isn't it? To be cozy indoors in winter and the snow is falling outside and reading a good book. So I'm reading all the time, and so I'm just not landing on one specific thing. I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question in a real way. Number 7. I'm curious about your top 3 favorite book adaptations and your thoughts on adaptations in general. This is a nice question. I love an adaptation. I do enjoy a really well done adaptation. The books come first, though. The book is always my starting point, and always, if possible, I like to read the book first before I see the film or adaptation or the TV show. I'm also thinking that I can't think of a time really where the film or the TV program was better than the book. Usually the book is always the winner, so to speak. For the top 3, it would be so easy to just rattle off, especially my favorite Jane Austen adaptations, because I enjoy them. There are many that I enjoy quite a lot, and I revisit those and enjoy those again on occasion. I think that I'm going to mix things up a little bit here for this question, because there are other adaptations that I enjoy, not just the Jane Austen adaptations of the books, but to mix up the fun a little bit. I love Breakfast at Tiffany's the 1961 film showing the most lovely, graceful Audrey Hepburn, based on the book by Truman Capote. That film is just wonderful, fun. The 1994 adaptation of Little Women, starring Winona Ryder and Susan Sarandon, that one is my favorite adaptation. If I could live in a movie, that would be the one, I think, or one of them. I really, that one is my favorite. There is just something about the whole presentation and delivery of the story of Little Women that I really enjoy. And the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy from 2001 to 2003, when those movies were coming out, when the first one was released, I was just finishing reading the trilogy for the first time. So watching the films as they came was it just kind of enhanced the whole experience. I had my own visuals in mind while reading these wonderful works by Tolkien, but to have the film adaptations just added kind of an extra, a deluxe layer. They're just brilliantly done. They are still the best, if you ask me. I just really couldn't get into the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. I just couldn't stay with that one. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was making too many comparisons to Peter Jackson's direction with everything, with the original Lord of the Rings film trilogy. I don't know. There was just something about it that just didn't resonate with me as well as the film trilogy. And number 8. Do you have any suggestions for Norwegian authors from the early to mid 1900s? I have a little list here to share, which I'll kind of preface by saying that there is a lot of great literature here in Norway, and sadly, some of it is just not translated into English, whether from times past or current times. There is some, of course, there is. I will share a few. Living here with a different language that is kind of viewed as a minority language on the global scale does make it interesting, I know. So the percentage of people understanding or speaking or reading the language, I understand, is relatively low compared to the world as a whole. But there are, of course, some well-noted authors. I'm thinking especially of Henrik Ibsen, the poet and dramatist. You've maybe read his works in high school or college. But I'm thinking especially of this particular question related to the early to mid 1900s, and kind of researching this a little bit, I noticed that there is quite a big gap of there being a lack of translated work from Norwegian into English, say. And but the one that came to mind immediately was Sigrid Undset, and of course her trilogy of Kristian Lavransdatter, the books translated in English, the Wreath, the Wife, and the Cross, Kransen, Husfrue, og Korset, in Norwegian. I'll give some text for you to have a look, and I will in the description box I will offer some books, these books as I describe them. And she also wrote some other works that were translated from Norwegian into English, including Jenny, and the Master of Hestviken, Olav Audunssøn I Hestviken. And also there is the writer Knut Hamsun, who wrote a very well-noted book Victoria in Norwegian, but he also wrote a book, Hunger, Sult, and The Growth of the Soil, Markens Grøde. So that could be something if you were interested in some early 1900s to mid 1900s to the 1950s. To try, I would say that probably from 1950s going forward to current times, there is more available by Norwegian authors translated into English and other languages. There are these authors are translated into other languages. German, French. You might want to just look out for the authors and see if they are translated into your language. Kind of related, but to Norwegian culture, number 9. Could you recommend any books to learn more about Nordic culture? I have to admit that I had to go on a little search for the answers to this one. And I have a few titles here for you that sound like really great reading. And I've picked some really good ones for you based on recommendations from various sources online. I have not read these books myself, so just know that the Almost Nearly Perfect People by Michael Booth. Again, I will leave these in the description box for you. Nordic Lifestyle, Embrace Slow Living, Cultivate Happiness, and Know When to Take Off Your Shoes by Susanna Heiskanen. I believe she is a Swedish. Also, Friluftsliv, Reconnect with Nature by Oliver Luke Delorie. And one more, The Little Book of Scandi Living by Bronte Aurell. Again, as I say, I have not read these particular titles myself. I would say that since the title Nordic Lifestyle by Susanna Heiskanen would probably be a good place to start since she is Nordic herself. Yes, I don't have any of my own personal recommendations in this category. I would say mostly because I have not done. I've done reading about the Nordic culture in a different way. I suppose I've been reading the literature of the authors here myself. I've been reading different things related to the culture here in the language. These are, I suppose, from someone who has been here and offering a perspective. And of course, there are a lot of books these days, as I was talking about in an earlier segment, of hygge, the sort of cozy living concept here. There are so many books under that kind of category alone. Again, I don't have any to recommend specifically on that topic. It's funny. I live here now, so I don't need the books. I suppose I'm living my own variation of Scandinavian living, of hygge. So I hope that these titles might be helpful for you to start learning about parts of the culture here, and the Nordic lifestyle. Know when to take off your shoes. We take off our shoes here when we enter a house, and it's a bit like in Japan, and I know other cultures do this as well. It's taking off your shoes is a respect for the place. Also, we have a lot of different weathers here, so taking off the shoes, we're not tracking in snow and mud and wet, and it's respect for and cleanliness for the household and the spirit of the household. So So these do sound like good titles. If you try them, please let me know what you think. Number 10. Who is your favorite Japanese author? Choosing one would be too hard. I'm sorry, I can't choose just one. That there are so many amazing Japanese authors, and so much work from Japanese authors has been translated, thankfully. I have mentioned some recent videos from my healing through storytelling specifically, and as a couple of previous videos. If you would like more on those, I will leave links to those videos in the description box as well if you haven't seen those already. I appreciate so much of Japanese authors, from the early poets, Matsuo Basho to Kobayashi Isa, Junichiro Tanizaki, Sosuke Natsume, Yukio Mishima, Kazuo Ishiguro, of course, Haruki Murakami, also a well-noted writer, Kenzaburo Oe, Hiromi Kawakami, Hiro Arikawa. I'm reading some favorites because I don't want to forget any, but I know that I am, because there are so many, and I've read many, I've enjoyed many, and the love of Japanese literature continues. extra because I'm learning the language now. Question number 11. What was your favorite book as a child? Or the first book that you remember maybe your parents reading to you? And also another question, but I will link it to this one. The book you read for the first time for yourself. My mother, my sweet mama, read to me and my younger sister when we were young, when we were little. I did speak about this in a childhood books video recently. I can link to that one as well if you haven't seen that one, where I talk about some childhood favorites. A book that my mom did tell me about after I shared that video, which I hadn't forgotten, but I forgot to add it to the video, to my list, was a very sweet book called Little Mommy, an illustrated golden book that was by Sharon, Kane. I loved that book as a child, and it is just the sweetest thing, where we follow a little girl and life with her dolls, where she is caring for the dolls as a mother would care for her child, where we follow along with her, where she is feeding the dolls, like feeding the babies, having tea parties for them, with them, nursing them when they're sick, making them ready, putting them to bed, making them ready for bed. The illustrations, this book is just so charming, and the illustrations are just wonderful. That was a favorite when I was quite young. A lot of fun memories with that story. I wanted to hear that story all of the time. That was a favorite. As for a book or books that I recall reading on my own, when I had enough proficiency for reading on my own, I seem to recall abridged and illustrated editions of Louisa May Alcott's Little Women and Eight Cousins, abridged works with beautiful illustrations and artwork, specifically for younger readers gaining in competency in reading. I do remember those. I have some fond memories of those books as well. And number 12, I saved this one for last. Which fictional characters would you like to invite to your house for tea? I have to admit that this one was a little bit difficult because there are so many great characters in literature that it would be great to, if they came to life and I could have a conversation with them, and I could invite them to tea and a little bit of a chat. Of course, Anne Shirley of Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery comes to mind. I think that she would be the sweetest person to have to your tea party. A lot of you know that story. So yeah, she comes to mind immediately. Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings, I think that he would have so many good stories to share. He is a smoker though, so we would have to sit outside in the garden while he's smoking his pipe and we have a cup of tea and some story time. I'm looking at the shelves here. Laszlo Strange from Laini Taylor's Strange the Dreamer. I love Laszlo Strange. He is one of my favorite heroes in fiction, especially in fantasy fiction. He is just the sweetest young man. And he worked in a library for a time, and I would love to talk to him about what he read and took care of in that library. So Anne Shirley, Gandalf, and Laszlo Strange would be a top three if I was very pressed to pick some favorites. And it's hard to choose favorites. As you've maybe noticed throughout this Q&A, I have a hard time picking favorites because there's been so much to love, so much to enjoy all the time, and things come and go in life as reading does, as story does. So you might not find me doing a video that is very specifically my top 5 books ever, because 15-year-old me would have presented a very different top 5 compared to my 25-year-old self, to my 35-year-old self, to my 40-year-old self, until now. I just feel blessed to have been able to have the privilege to read some amazing books and encounter some amazing characters created by some brilliant minds. This questions on my life with books has been truly delightful. Thank you for all of these really amazing and fun questions. And I hope that maybe this has given you a nice little window into my bookish life. Thank you to all of you who have presented such really thoughtful, creative, and just plain fun questions for our first Q&A here, and being with me to celebrate our community of 2,000. I am thankful for each and every one of you who are here every week, once a month, however often you are here. I genuinely appreciate you being here, and I especially appreciate the engagement that we have. This is such a beautiful little community, and I am so grateful to all of you. What we will in a couple of months, I will celebrate 1 year on BookTube, 1 year on YouTube, and I'm not sure how we will celebrate then, but I have some time to think about it. I thought it would be fun to have this Q&A now to celebrate what we've done together here, what we've enjoyed together here, especially because a little while ago the subscriber count had plateaued quite a bit, and it wasn't really growing a lot. But then suddenly some of the videos were resonating with people, and I had quite a jump in the subscriber count. And I thought that this would be a fun time to celebrate two things with a little Q&A that you might get to know me, whether you've been here for a little while or you are just joining, so that you can know me a little bit better going forward now. And I look forward to continuing to get to know you over our cups of tea and our shared love of books and life, where books and life meet. That's what this is all about here at Tracy's Nordic Light. I have had questions about why I don't have books as part of my banner for the channel. And that was largely just because it has to do with my word for the new year, which was to shine my light out into the world and to be brave in doing that. And that is why the little thumbnail of me you see when you land on the homepage of the channel is me with some books, but my banner, I like to think of it as a lighthouse. This might sound a little woo-woo, but it's like a lighthouse. I feel like the love that I feel all the time is like a lighthouse, and that explains the banner, because I've had questions about that, and the social media marketers love to point out the fact that I do not look like a booktube channel, maybe at first glance, but I am part of this community and very thankful to be so. So until next time, again, I thank you so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, the rest of your week, weekend, whenever you are viewing. And I will look forward to meeting you here again soon. Until then, happy reading. And as always, I'm sending you much love and wishing you many blessings. I will see you again here very soon.